The football stuff is the difference between a 1-3 Clemson and a 3-1 Clemson. We'll talk about it right here on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, part-time host and producer over on 105.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you are an everydayer, big salute out there to you. You know how we do it. Monday through Friday, exclusive Clemson content right here for you. And if you're new to the show, well, welcome in. Hey, about 75% of you are not yet subscribed. So what are you waiting for? Get in there. You know you're going to love the show. I know it's about Clemson. I know you love Clemson. So get in on it, hit the like and the subscribe and the follow and all those things. And make sure you stay up with us so you never miss another episode. Speaking of today's episode, it is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. And you know, we got a good episode because we're going to continue to talk about what Dabo Swinney said in his press conference about the details and the football stuff and what's going to fix Clemson. And then how can this team respond to this extra pressure they've got to try to turn the season around? And then finally, you know, Dabo still mentioned that it was a complete coaching failure. And I want to give you some more of my thoughts on that as I keep going through, that in my head. And is that true? Is that not true? What is going on with this team? Well, really, we're going to find out pretty soon, coming up on Saturday at noon against the North Carolina Tar Heels. Clemson right now a 13.5-point favorite, but that doesn't really give you much confidence because against the spread, they really are pretty terrible. So do you pick Clemson or do you pick North Carolina and the points in this case, considering that the Tigers have just been all over the place? Excellence is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle said that. And Dabo boiled it down to kind of, being the football stuff, the blocking, the tackling, the gap fits, the turnovers, the pocket presence, doing the plays that the way that they're ran, instead of treating this, as really like big, massive problem that this team has. He kind of framed it as the basics, the football stuff, the fundamentals, the habits, and the little things that have kept Clemson from being 3-1 or maybe even 4-0, if you will, want to go that far, to now a 1-3 team. To me, that it's not really super encouraging most of the time when we think about this, because it's not just one position group. It's not just the quarterbacks having problems with the details. You could say Cade's definitely having problems with the details, but when you look at the running back group, they're having some problems. I mean, as good as Adam Randall's been, he's fumbled here and there, and you want to give him a pass because of how good he's been and how much he's helped the team and how surprising he's been all season. But that and the fact that they don't rotate anybody, at least so far, there's some details that are missing in the running back room. On the offensive line, I have started to feel like that Matt Luke deserves some of the blame as well. I mean, this offensive line is pretty much the same players, and they look worse. So it's not very encouraging for me, because there's a lot of details being missed on the offensive line. And it seems as if they're making these guys do what they just can't do. And then the wide receivers, you feel as if some are doing good, others are not, and they don't rotate properly. Tristan Smith doesn't get any opportunities, or not enough opportunities. And then TJ Moore gets opportunities, but can't seem to, he's kind of in a funk of being able to catch the ball without dropping it or win those one-on-one battles or those 50-50 balls. So he's kind of, I still believe in him, but he's still not, performing at a level you would want. Is it all about cleaning up the little things? Is that really what this season balances on going forward, is to clean up the little things? I think that a lot of it can be that for sure. But the frustrating part is that it does seem to be across the board for the offense and really across the board for the defense. To save you another 3 minutes of talking about the defense, they're having the same problems across each position group as well. And that's what's most shocking to me is it really truly about the drills, or is it more about the identity? Is this team really even detail oriented anymore? When did they go away from this level of detail to a more loose way of playing football that is not holding players accountable the way you would like? And again, excellence doesn't just happen by accident. As I said earlier, it is a consistent habit of doing the right things, not practicing in the wrong way. You've got to go back to practice, and you have to practice and drill and make that into a habit. First, you have to observe the right way of doing things, and you have to be taught the right way of doing things from someone who should know what they're doing. And then you have to imitate the right way, or what you were told. And then you have to drill that and practice that over and over and over and over until eventually it becomes a habit for you. So it is not by mistake. It is not by accident. It is a act. You have to purposely go back and hold the players accountable to a certain level, hold your coaching and your teaching and your training to a certain level, and then basically, for lack of a better word, discipline and hold accountable in a way of, and I don't mean like, punish in a way of like a parent and a child, but hold them accountable for what their actions or what their results are being. And if they're not to the standard, they simply just can't be playing. Execution failures, drops, missed tackles, the blocks that look just ridiculous. To me, it's not overall scheme. I don't think that. I do agree. I feel like it is a lot of the looseness on the habits, the looseness on the act of being excellent. A lot of people have said best as the standard has been gone for years now. And it does seem as if there's a little bit of best as the standard is, oh, just do your best, little Johnny, do your best, and it'll be all right. And we'll still win those games if you just do your best. And some of that is, yes, you want to perform to the best that you can, your God-given talent, but you've got to have coaches behind you pushing you to get to that next level, or to extend yourself to that 110%, if you will. Here's the thing I got to say too. Is Clemson actually disciplined enough to do this? I think the coaching staff should be able to reset this team. But here's what I think about. We talked about the transfer portal and the lack of seemingly competition, or lack of depth or trust in that second string, because they don't really seem to be rotating enough to indicate they have any kind of trust with most of their position groups beyond the starters. So maybe they're getting the pushing from the coaches, but where Dabo maybe needs to reevaluate is, where are they getting motivated and pushed from their peers, right? What did we talk about with Dabo and going into the portal, and specifically with a quarterback? Do you remember what we used to say? We used to say that Dabo needed to go to the portal for a quarterback so that he could push Cade Klubnik. And Dabo would say to us, well, you can't go to the portal for a quarterback that is going to be wanting to start, because they're going to want to start and they're not going to want to come in with Cade Klubnik. I mean, what you're seeing with Christopher Vizina, at least what you're proving to us, is that you have no trust to put him in at all. Now, they say the games are still close. To me, I'm not buying that. There are times where this game seems to be an uphill battle, and the other team is way ahead. And one series is not going to destroy this team. I mean, considering they're already only 1-3 over the season. So what good did it do to keep these guys on the bench? But if it's just basic execution, I would trust the coaching staff to get this team to do their best to get this team where they need to be. But can the peers, can the players hold each other accountable to clean everything up and to take a step forward post bye week? Well, I got one thing for you on that is we'll find out against the North Carolina Tar Heels this Saturday. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about being frustrated and failure and how this team has to handle the pressure of being 1-3 going forward. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention on how they craft every model. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but everyday drives, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is a built-in or built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending. And finally, feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. And I got to tell you, for years, I used Google Sheets, Microsoft, Excel, whatever it may be. I have a ton of different spreadsheets for about 7 or 8 years. And then eventually I realized there's a better way. I didn't get any of the visuals like I'm talking about. The spreadsheet was great because I knew every number I was putting in, but all those visuals I was missing out on, and making it easy to collaborate with my wife. It's so hard to be able to share something and show what's going on and make it visual, because that's what she likes to see. You can do that with Monarch. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. All right, so segment 2, there was mention from Dabo Swinney that there's some concern in the locker room around confidence so far, and he feels it's never one way or the other. It's never super bad like we painted up or super good like he paints it up. There's somewhere in the middle, and he feels that if it's just a few plays away from bringing this team back into a level of confidence that they need. And really your life is what your thoughts make it. That's what Marcus Aurelius said. Our life is what our thoughts make it. And I think about that too, because Dabo said this team's playing tight, playing frustrated, and they're affected by the 1-3 start. They're affected by their failures, by the noise. Clemson's confidence is gone. And a caller got in on 105.5 The Roar today and said, Clemson used to go into these games and feel like that they could not lose, and the other team also felt like they could not win. And you just don't feel that anymore, and I don't think it's an excuse. I feel it as a fan. I don't feel as if this team pushes its opponents to a level of fear or even respect that they need to, or that they have been in the past. As the talent level as we think that they have, they just really haven't brought the pain that we were expecting it to. And this could be one of those shifts away from what Dabo had built that you really don't like. And is it the NIL? The thing is everybody is getting paid. So it can't just be the fact they're getting paid, right? I mean, all the starters on Georgia Tech are getting paid. All the starters on North Carolina Tar Heels are getting paid. maybe Clemson is paying a little bit better, but everybody on South Carolina is getting paid. Everybody in Oregon's getting paid. Penn State, I mean, Georgia, everybody's getting paid. So how can it be that, oh, just Clemson's team is not motivated or has lost all their swagger or confidence because they're getting paid? I don't think that that's the case. I think to me, that is an excuse. If you frame it that way, the fact that they've been getting paid is truly an excuse. And that's not a reason for being unable to handle the pressure. If anything, this team should be able to handle the pressure, whether they're getting zero money or, $60,000 or 100,000 or 2 million, you know, I do get from the social media era, and a lot of fans say, "Man, I wish Clemson would go back to those times where Dabo did not allow social media." He claims, and the players have agreed that it was really more of a senior thing. It was really more of a player thing and it wasn't like Dabo not allowing social media. But I do believe that there's some problems with the social media era. You have guys like Avion Terrell immediately after the game putting up a bunch of highlights. I mean, I'm assuming he's paying someone to do that because I doubt he's doing that himself, but that's a priority that doesn't seem to be a necessary priority. You've got other players out there that are part of social media and immediately posting on social media right after games. And I feel like that, this team needs to focus on winning games. They need to focus on handling the pressure internally and stop, basically advancing into that spotlight where they're getting exposed, and where they're getting frustrated even more. I said this on the radio on my show Tuesday night that I felt as if the team really just needed to be quiet. I don't, as much as I like being able to get a lot of nuggets from Dabo Swinney after a 60-minute press conference. Honestly, at this point, I would rather him have a 5-minute press conference. I'd rather him have a 2-minute press conference. I'd rather Cade Klubnik not say a word. Most of these guys that you believe are leaders on the team not say a word. They don't need to. They don't owe the media anything, but they don't need to, and they really don't need to say much at all. And if they do, maybe they could give it into a pre-written up, thoughts or paragraphs. But the thing is like, to me, this team's talked too much. This team has talked about rebounding and talked about making the right things, and the main thing and all this stuff, and talked about, staying confident and playing together and being a family and trusting each other and believing in the mission and believing in the program and all of these things that it just sounds so scripted at this point, when you don't see it actually happen on Saturdays, you start to get more jaded as you continue to go through. And Clemson has got to be careful in this era of when we're talking about snowballing of disappointment or snowballing momentum in the negative way, right? If this team gets to a point where they feel like they can't win or they can't overcome the problems, then I don't think that they will be at all. They will be able to at all. And that's where I kind of worry, right, about this North Carolina game, because when you think about this Tar Heel team, they played TCU, right? And TCU destroyed them, held them to 14 points, scored almost 50 on them. That's a Sonny Dykes, Kendall Briles team that Garrett Riley left a few years ago. Okay, so there's a concern there. Garrett Riley has got a little bit of prove it for me, because his former team and former coach was able to put a lot of points on the Tar Heels. And then you have Scott Frost, who is also an offensive mind with Central Florida and his return back to his original school. And he put up like 30-something points and held them to just 3 field goals. So Garrett Riley is going to be on notice here, and the offense is going to be on notice here to actually put something on the field and on the scoreboard on Saturday to be able to thrive in a situation where they should be able to beat this team. And why I think about 13.5-point spread is I truly believe this team needs to score that and more. They need to win by more than 2 scores, and they need to hold the Tar Heels to under or around 2 scores themselves. So 14, so Clemson needs to be up in the 30s and they need to stay around the Tar Heels need to stay around the teens. That's a fact of the matter. That is, to me, the bare minimum. If not, they need to go and continue to just route them. This needs to be a situation where Dabo does not take his foot off of the gas pedal. Past teams have strived in this belief of being the underdog, being little old Clemson, being, the fun is in the winning. There's no winning right now. And it's not little old Clemson anymore, because of what Dabo has built. So these players that are on this team are being judged and critiqued, and in some ways, fairly, but some ways a little bit maybe unfairly. But it is probably eroded some of the joy that they're having, some of the confidence that they have. Is it a big issue for this team? I do believe so. Thankfully, Dabo says that, they just need a few drives, a few good plays that kind of get that momentum swinging in the other direction. And really, it could be that. It could be, if you see Cade Klubnik go out there and lead a drive and score, and you get everybody rallying around, then maybe that's something that can spark something. They need that spark. I even said this, like Georgia did a couple of years ago, where once they scored, they had the whole team go to the end zone and show that they were together, and they got a penalty for unsportsmanlike, right? Or delay game, or whatever they got penalty for. But remember when the whole Georgia team went to the end zone and just cheered their team on after scoring? There's a lot of that I'd like to see from Clemson. They have to prove on Saturday that there's still a team that's in it together. It's really, when it all is said and done, and they go back to their 20 and 30-year reunions, it's just about the brothers to their left and to their right that are going to get them through in this situation. They don't need to be looking for confidence from the media or from social media or from fans either. They have to find it from within and each other, and then build on that. All right, we're going to finish up the show talking about the coaching staff and what kind of crossroad they're in right now, and what they can do going forward to make this season successful, right here on Locked on Clemson. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel because it's quick and easy to use. I'm telling you, whether you're a casual fan or whether you're one of those road rager junkies, statistical geniuses out there, there's something there for you to do. And I love when you can get into these live game stuff, because we got MLB postseason going on. We got college football, NFL. There's all different kind of things going on right now that you can get in during the action. Yeah, you heard me right. During the action. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com and join the FanDuel app, or download the FanDuel app today and get started. This episode is also brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make a neighborhood feel like home, whether it's a sports bar packed on game day, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the local deli that's been a part of the community for decades. These places bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole community thrives right along with them. And behind the scenes, many of those spots are powered by Square, just like Chestnut Coffee House and Market, where the focus is on unity, hospitality, and creating a moment of pause in your day. If you've ever been there, man, they give you this really nice coffee shop feel. It just makes you relax, whether you can do business, whether you can study, or just enjoy a little bit of pause in your day. Businesses like these run on daily routines and community rituals. Square helps make that connection possible. And at Chestnut Coffee House and Market, there are a bunch of Clemson fans, owned and operated by a bunch of Clemson fans and Clemson grads. So go check them out. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be glad you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. All right, we're wrapping up the show here on Locked On Clemson, segment number 3. Thank you so much. Big salute again to the everydayers for sticking through with me to the very end of the show in the last segment. Hey, if you're still with me and you're not an everydayer, you got to get in on it. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and follow button, whatever you may have, wherever you're listening or whether you're watching. We'd really appreciate it here. We've been growing consistently. You know, I started back in February, and it's been a great time here to enjoy the show with you, especially during the football season, even though this season hasn't been that great. All right, so Dabo went back to putting it all on himself. It's a coaching failure. He said, quote, "It's a coaching failure, and it starts with me." Now, some people have said, well, Morg, he's saying that because he just can't, after a bye week, just run down the list of players that he's disappointed with. And yeah, let's be completely clear. Dabo is putting pressure where he feels like the pressure can be handled the most. The pressure being that on the coaching staff. You know, right now, coming out of the bye week, you want your team to feel as confident as possible, to feel as if the rebound is imminent, to feel as if you put in the work in the little bit of a pause or bye week that you had, and that's going to pay off this coming Saturday against North Carolina on the road. So you can't go full in on Peter Woods or TJ Parker or anybody else or the defense as a whole. And you can't definitely go in on the offensive line or Cade Klubnik or anybody like that. The best thing for Dabo Swinney to do is to go in on the coaches in this scenario, because you're trying to make a fresh start for this team. So if there's any place of blame to go around, it really starts with the coaching staff and starts with Dabo Swinney first. You know, outside of all the other coaches, you know, as an ancient proverb once said, I'm really big on my quotes today. I don't know why. I'm in my fields right now, but the fish rots at the head. And you know what that means. That means that it all starts with the head man, Dabo Swinney. And really, I think that Clemson is at a crossroads right now. You know, this is a moment for Dabo Swinney to reflect and to figure out what is actually working, who on his staff is actually working, and what is he going to do to continue to grow and develop himself. You know, he wants to grow and develop his coaches and the players that he brings in, but he's got to do this himself. He's got to evolve in a lot of ways with the way that college football is now. You know, gone are the days of being able to wait around for players to develop for 3 or 4 years, you know, and he's got to be okay with that, you know, and the players that are on his staff, on his team, have to be okay with that. You know, they're just not ready. Okay, well, then you got to go get somebody that is ready. Public ownership is great. It is rare. And fans want to see that. They definitely do. But they also want to see action. You know, we want to see what's going to happen on Saturday. And if Saturday is still a close game, if it's a one-score game or a field goal game, or and both teams are in the 20s, to me, still an absolute nightmare disaster. The worst thing to happen for this team is, one, they lose. Two, they win a narrow skin of their teeth game. Or like a last second kind of win. You know, they cannot squeak by on this game. They cannot start slow and still look like they don't know what they're doing with their most scripted plays. This team has to take it to the North Carolina Tar Heels, and I hate it for them. Both teams feel like they have no identity at all on both sides of the ball. When I go back and I watch the Tar Heels highlights, I mean, the sad thing is the North Carolina Tar Heels look a lot like what Clemson looks like. You know, you've got a team that has a quarterback but can't really make big plays. You got an offensive line, can't really hold that long. You got an offense that doesn't really seem to know what they want to do. They want to be a spread. They want to throw, but they want to run. They don't really know. Have a couple of stars here and there, but they really can't trust anybody consistently. On the defensive side of the ball, they get no push up front, and their secondary gets exposed, and they have a couple of one or two players that they know or they feel like that are kind of good, but the rest of them you don't really know, and you don't know what they're going to be able to do play in and play out, drive in and drive out. So there's a lot of question marks on the Tar Heels. And the thing is that Clemson also has a lot of those same question marks. You just really don't know what you're going to get from either team. Now, the thing is, though, that we never thought Clemson would be here. This team, the Clemson Tiger team, didn't need to be in this situation at all. And Dabo mentioned, too, that the players play, and that's what I believe in. That's where I'm strong on, is that we're in the fall now. You've had all this time to practice. You've had all this time to figure out the plays, and it's time for you to shine on the field now, players. I don't blame the coaches that much, even though Dabo came out and put it all on the coaches. To me, I don't as much. I feel like the talent is either there or not there, and the guys are going to show up or they're not going to show up. LeBron James doesn't need a coach to kind of get him going. Michael Jordan didn't need a coach to get him going. Kobe Bryant didn't need a coach to get him going. The best players out there don't need a coach. Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, Dexter Lawrence, all these guys, they could get themselves out of a bad play because of how good they were going to play. The players play. If they don't play to their potential, then they have to be taken out of the game, and that is on the coaching staff. The players get paid. This is what they wanted. They play. They're on the field. If it's not to the standard, then what are you going to do? Because what you've put together right now, we have a in Dabo we trust kind of mentality, and a lot of fans still have that. Don't give any criticism. In Dabo we trust. In Dabo we trust. In Dabo we trust. But is there a little bit of crack in that? Is there a little bit of fracture in Dabo we trust era? Dabo knows best. It seems as if this year is the one year that's kind of frustrating everybody across the board, including the coaching staff and the players. And to me, I put a lot of it on the players themselves because, as I've mentioned, when I was a softball, youth softball coach, you can do a ground ball to the shortstop 1,000 times to make sure that they do it. And then when the game gets on the line and the lights get on and it's 2 out in the bottom of the ninth and the grounder comes to the shortstop, if they don't field it cleanly, is it the coach's fault? And another thing about players versus coaches, and it all centers around the one main guy, and that's Cade Klubnik. We're still hearing that Cade is not running the plays that are being called. I don't know how you don't take him out of the game. I don't know why he's even starting this game coming up. And that's where I worry about the coaching staff. And that's where I think the crossroads is. Are they not being taken out of the game because they're getting too much money and it upset their mom and dad? Are they not getting taken out of the game because they're making too much money and then they get in the portal and they jump ship if you took them out of the game? Whatever it may be, the accountability part from the coaching staff has been disappointing in 2025. The confession from Dabo Swinney saying it's a coaching failure is right, but what does he really mean by that? They say you're either coaching it or you're allowing it. I think it's a little bit of both, honestly, in this season so far. And it's been disappointing from a team led by a legendary head coach like Dabo Swinney. If anybody is on staff right now under Dabo Swinney, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. I mean, you've got a 2-time national championship head coach, and you as a position coach are allowing this team to perform like this under a legendary head coach. And it really goes back to Dabo as well. And I know that's why he's putting the onus on himself. But if you're a staffer or position coach, it's time to step up and hold them accountable if you haven't already, because it's midweek and they've got a game this weekend. I'm hoping that they've already done that. Hey, thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day, and the everydayers sticking with me to the very end. This is a great moment here on Locked On because college football has and Locked On has partnered with Fire TV to present the college football kickoff, your ultimate College Football Weekly Preview Show. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts like myself. All college football preview a college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch college football kickoff every Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV. Just a few days left before we get into that game in Chapel Hill. I look forward to it, and I hope you do as well. Stick with me tomorrow as we'll continue the discussion on Clemson football and what they can do to rebound right here on Locked On Clemson. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.